Welcome to Delay the Decay, the podcast for unashamedly ambitious men who want to live longer, lead better, and love deeper, prioritizing what matters most. I'm your host, Dan Harty, coach, entrepreneur, and former pastor, here to help you build a life of more intentional direction, not perfection, across 5 life domains: spiritual, relational, physical, mental, and financial. Hello, this is the first ever episode of Delay the Decay with Dan Harty. And I have picked my first guest. It wasn't even a hard choice for me. And that my first guest is Jobe Lewis. And Jobe is a good friend. I've known Jobe for over a decade. He is the founder of the 40-Day Fight. But more importantly, he's a follower of Jesus. He's been married to his wife, Lindsay, for 25 years. He has 4 sons, 3 of them playing college football. One of them still in the house as an athlete. They're a household of athletes. And Jobe has a passion to see people live an integrated life, to see people embrace body, mind, and soul and live a prioritized life. So he's got a lot to say. Not sure where this is going to take us today, but I know it's going to be great. So, hey, Jobe.
Hey, Dan.
Good to see you.
Honored to be here, man. You're the first one.
First one. Yeah. And let's just talk about something right up front. Let's embrace the awkward. You've already off air, told me how ridiculous I looked, but I've got this headset on that would fit on Huey Long's head, but it doesn't quite fit on my head. So hopefully by the second episode, I'll have this figured out. It won't look like I have a halo. I mean, if you know me, you definitely know it's not a halo. So let's embrace the awkward.
I hope the sound is good on those suckers, man.
Oh yeah, it's good. I'm getting if it's lightning outside, I'm gonna get a lightning rod right on the top of this head here. So hey, I've got an opening question for us, and here it is. What's one small decision that you've made lately that has helped you live life in the direction that you want to live? One small decision lately.
Well, it seems like a small one, but from the outside, it probably seems small, but it really was a hard thing to make happen. As you mentioned, we've got kids. One of our kids just graduated, and my wife, Lindsay, and I both have full-time jobs, and we help coach at the local high school here. And so life's just been really busy for the last 6 months, and we haven't spent any time, just the two of us, talking about life and direction for her business and my business, and just catching up. Even though everybody in our life who we love and who loves us says, you got to do that. You need to be spending time with your spouse weekly. And when Lindsay and I hear that, we kind of roll our eyes yeah, that'll happen at some point.
Right. In our spare time.
But it had gotten to the point where it was way past due. And so I forced the issue this morning and said, babe, we're going to get a cup of coffee, going to go to late church, and we're going to spend at least an hour together, just the two of us, with intention. We had some things we had to discuss, in our finances and our personal life. And it was good. We caught up and we laughed and just spent the time. And I left going, okay, we got to do that. Just like everybody tells us, we really got to do that more often. But just when you do it, when you finally do the thing that you should do, you feel good afterwards. I feel like, okay, my whole mental outlook changed, just from spending that time with her and trying to just get on the same page on some things. So that's my answer to that question.
That's awesome. I'm so proud of you for doing that, brother. Yeah, it's 25 years of marriage. We've been married 45 years. And you know what? As great and as hard as marriage is, if we're not making those small decisions on a weekly basis, they are small, but they're big when our lives are full.
Yeah,
we can grow apart even after that many years. So thanks for doing the courageous thing.
Yeah. Again, it seems silly to call it courageous, but it did take effort. And sometimes those small things take a lot of mental and emotional effort to just force it to happen. But then you're glad you did.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Well, today I want to talk primarily about the 40-day fight. And I know that your personal story is all over the 40-day fight. It was 10 years ago that God gave you this idea. And ironically, it was about the same time frame, about 8 years ago, that the Lord gave me the vision for Delay the Decay.
Mm-hmm.
Little did we know that our paths had already crossed. Jobe and I met at CrossFit about a decade ago
Mm-hmm.
when you were at Group Publishing, and little did we know that our paths would cross. And so I am a evangelist of sorts for the 40-day fight, and I want you to I want to talk more about that. But first, what I want to do is I want to read from the 40-day fight website the description of the 40-day fight, and then
Okay.
have you like add into that. And here's what it says. I'm gonna actually read it from this other screen. The idea for the 40-day fight was born out of a desire to see people find balance and success in the journey, to get off the diet exercise roller coaster, and to integrate their spiritual, physical, relational, nutritional, and mental health pursuits. The diet exercise roller coaster.
Yep.
What is the diet exercise roller coaster, and why do so many people find themselves on that thing when it
Well,
makes them sick?
yeah, what it is just I'm on again, I'm off again. I'm doing this diet plan, I'm doing that, I'm doing nothing. It's just the extreme back and forth that I see a lot of people, and I've been in it too, of all or nothing. I'm successful for a week, and then life happens, and I fall off the wagon. So that's what the roller coaster is, and I really believe the way to get off of that is this integration of understanding. We tend to silo this stuff. You've met pastors who are close with God. They've lived their whole lives in ministry, but their physical and mental health is so out of whack you wouldn't even believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And some people just look at that and go, well, there's no problem with that. I'm giving my life up to ministry, and God gives me grace, and so I'm doing all these things for the Lord. So I've got these other areas are siloed over here. Don't tell me I need to do anything with my diet or my exercise or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have people that are just sold out on being fit, that so much so, and it's not connected to their spiritual life, and so they have no connection to God. They don't realize that when you engage your body and your mind in that way intentionally, it can be an act of worship. And so I really, that's really the heart of it, of where it started is, man, we have to integrate all these things and help point people to the fact that it all matters, and it's all an act of your faith, and it can be an act of worship if you know how, and if you let it be that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really kind of the heartbeat behind it, I guess.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, the Delay the Decay and 40-day fight have so much in common as far as the mission goes. For
Yep.
Delay the Decay, as you well know, like we want to recognize that the outer human being is decaying, as Paul says in 2 Corinthians 4. But the inner human, the redeemed human, is being renewed day by day. And
Mm-hmm.
so we can, those of us of faith, we can just be fatalists, that like we are decaying anyways, and in heaven I'm going to get a new body. So what's the use?
What's it matter?
What's it matter?
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were talking about this actually before we went online, but the why needs to be compelling enough. Like yes, it's worship. Romans 12 tells us it's worship, but and this is going to sound like hypocritical, but I feel like the why needs to be more tangible than that. Like what's the why? You're a 47-year-old man,
Yep.
47. I'm 67. And, it's easy for me. Like I've got a poster on my wall and I'm going to actually be interviewing, in several weeks, the founder of this poster. It's called 4K Weeks. And it's a visual of 4K weeks that it has a mark for 4,000 weeks, and it shows visually how many of those marks are blacked out that I've already lived.
Yeah,
And
I've seen that. That's awesome.
It's awesome, and it's scary, and it's crazy, and it's like suffocating at times. Where I look at this and I go and I had them make it to 100 years old. They'll make it to your life. So mine's like, I don't know.
Being confident.
I don't know if I'm confident or what.
Optimistic.
The deal is. Delusional, maybe. I don't know. But like 2/3 of that baby is blackened out. And, and I need to determine how I want to live that last third of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not all up to me. I mean, I could be doing all the right things, right, Jobe? Like we could be doing all the right things. And the Lord in his kindness might determine that it's time for us to transition.
Yep.
But as far as it depends upon me, Paul says, as far as it depends upon me, and if we're not prioritizing these 5 life domains that the 40-day fight has, you tell me. For me, when they're out of whack, when I'm in the gym, but my relationship with Nancy is not great, I haven't spent one-on-one time with her, or if I've dialed in my nutrition and I haven't read my Bible in 6 months, I'm miserable. So speak to that a little bit. How have you experienced that?
Yeah, well, a couple of thoughts on that. The idea is if I have 6 weeks left on Earth, or if I have 50 years left on Earth, how do I want to live out those years? And what impact and what legacy do I want to leave through those years? And it is tempting sometimes to think just what you said earlier. It doesn't matter. I'm getting a new body. God's got me. Could be tomorrow, so what's the point? And I totally, empathize with that and have felt that sometimes. Why am I in here beating myself up in the gym? But yeah, like you said, it emanates across everything that you do. So one of the verses that's key to 40-day fight is in Hebrews 12, where it says, he goes through all of sort of the heroes of the faith and talks about what they're remembered for. And then at the end of that, it says, therefore, let us throw off every sin and weight that so easily entangles. I'm paraphrasing, of course. The sin and the weight that weighs us down and entangles us. And let us what? Let us run with perseverance the race that's been set out before us. Yeah. So I think a lot of getting to the why for people is a lot of people just live day to day, paycheck to paycheck. They may not even have identified what is the race that God's called me to, because he's called all of us individually as believers to an individual impact, an individual circle, community of friends and people, an individual influence that they have that no one else has, that specific type of influence, that particular type of gifting. So I think, if people spend time trying to understand that, okay, well, this is the race that God's called me to. I want to run it well. I want to run it with endurance. Like Paul says, I don't want to either not enter the race, stand on the sidelines, which some people do, or I don't run it very well. I run too hard, or I don't know where the direction of the race is going, so I go the wrong way and lose my way. I want to run my race well. I want to run it with perseverance. And at the end of my life, whether that's tomorrow or in 50 years, it's about being a good steward with what we've been given to maximize as much as we can with grace laced all through it. to maximize our life and to just do the best we can with what we've been given.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And one of the words that you use often, Joby, is impact, and I love that word because it's intentional. It's thinking outside of me. That God has given you and me and anybody listening certain gifts. And those gifts are, the first and second great commandment, to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and what? To love your neighbor. And how do we, and that means having an impact on our neighbor for good. And we can do that when we're healthy.
That verse is critical too. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. We tend to, when we're sitting in church or maybe you're in a Bible study, you tend to understand and resonate with, I got to love God with my heart and with my soul. Like that makes sense in a spiritual sense. But how do I love God with my mind? And how do I love God with my strength? What is that even about? I'm not very strong compared to what I used to be. So what does that mean to love God with your mind and your strength? So again, I think it's speaking to, if you could summarize it, love God in everything you do. In the way that you're doing your life, do it for Him. And I've only got one body, and we all know that we're decaying, and if we don't eat right and if we don't exercise, that decay is going to happen faster and faster. We'll end up being sick. Eventually it'll catch up with you. You'll be sick, you'll be a burden on other people, you won't have energy, all the negative things that can come with that. And so again, I had seen a lot of challenges out there, and there's plenty of diet challenges, hundreds of them. There's plenty of exercise programs you can jump into, but if you don't have that why that you were talking about, Dan, and you don't integrate it into your purpose in your life, then it's either meaningless or you don't have the motivation to continue to do it for very long because there's no weight behind it.
Yeah. As a 67-year-old man, I've got my 10th grandchild on the way, and I'm in the gym 6 days a week. People ask me how retirement's going, and I tell them what I'm doing. And it's, I have by God's grace, a lot that I want to say and a lot that I want to do. And it all has to do with people. And the best way to love the Lord our God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength is by loving our neighbor. You want to love God? It's making an impact with your unique footprint that God's given you unique gifts and me unique gifts. And I want to be along for that ride.
Yeah.
And if I'm not paying attention to my health, physical health and mental health, and if I'm not prioritizing a relationship with the Lord and those that God's put in our life, I'm not going to have an impact. So I love that word, impact. I want to press into something, Joby, that you said, and you and I have also talked about this a little bit, is what makes this different? I could just hear the cynics saying, like, you talk about the diet, exercise, roller coaster. You know what that is for a lot of the people listening? It's a challenge that they've already done. Mm-hmm. They've done this challenge and that challenge. And like, how is a 40-day fight different? Share your heart there.
Yeah. A couple things that I see that are different. One is what we've already touched on, is that the whole umbrella of the whole thing is about your spiritual growth and your relationship with God and your impact. And I'm sure there's good stuff out there. I haven't seen a lot of it. Like I said, a lot of what you see is very siloed, 21-day lose X amount of pounds, or this 30-day nutrition eating plan, or whatever it is. But without having that integration of the spiritual, and that really all of it is spiritual, and all of it helps to point towards you growing in your relationship with God and helping others do the same. That's, if I had to answer one answer, that's the biggest difference, is that it's about spiritual growth. The second one is we don't tell you what to do in the different categories. So you're going to take 40 days, and we can talk about why 40 days in a minute. But to sum it up, it's long enough to really change some habits. We don't tell you this is the plan and you're doing these things for these 40 days. We give you a prep guide ahead of time so you can dig in. There's an assessment to see where you're at and what areas you may feel like maybe you know already, but this assessment helps you to identify what are some areas that probably need the most work right now. And then from there, it's sort of chart your own course as to what daily for the 40 days, what are the things I'm going to do and not do to try to turn this ship in the direction that I want it to go. So it's sort of choose your own adventure in that way. But again, all about spiritual growth, and the spiritual side is tied through all of it. So there's not like a separate nutrition thing to do. You're doing that because you've said at the beginning, I feel like I'm not going the best direction that I need to, and I need to turn this a little bit. And so I want to give this to God and bathe it in prayer and really have that be my focus, my motivation.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Nobody's arrived. It's about direction, not perfection. And just compare you and me. There's things in these 5 domains that you've got dialed in, some things that I've got dialed in, things that we are like, there's no dial for, we need to work on, but they're different for you and me. And it's going to be different for me this year in the summer of 2025 than it probably is in the spring of 2026. Yeah. So what's really unique, certainly the spiritual aspect, that it's all about a relationship with our Creator. But 40-Day Fight doesn't tell you what to do. And every other challenge, at least that I'm aware of, you're doing the same things with other people.
Yeah.
And that may not be exactly what you need. Mm-hmm. Yep. So this assessment is helpful, right? It asks questions in these 5 life domains and doesn't tell you what to do, but it presents you with some hot spots or opportunities for growth, right?
Right. And it does give you some ideas of things you might do.
Yeah.
But you're right. Everybody's in a different place, especially when you start talking about physical fitness and health. And so a lot of these challenges, if you haven't been in the gym in a long time, it's just going to be discouraging to you to see something. And even if you go try it, it might go well, it might not. But our hope is that anybody can jump into this no matter where they're at. Maybe you've literally never worked out, or you've never looked at your diet. We feel like there's a place for you with 40-Day Fight. And maybe you're somebody that CrossFits, 6 days a week and your nutrition is dialed, but you've never integrated it into your spiritual life, your walk with Jesus. 40-Day Fight's for that person too.
Yeah.
So that's a little different, I think.
I think so too. No doubt about it. I'm in the gym 6 days a week, and one of my priorities for physical fitness is to change it up a little bit, not come in less than 6 because that's working for me, but change up what I'm doing on each day. And for somebody that maybe hasn't been in the gym, you might be listening right now. You haven't been in the gym, you haven't exercised in 10 years. It might simply be showing up.
Yeah.
Every day, walking to the mailbox, showing up at the gym. It's not one size fits all. No. And it's a journey. We've seen people fail by biting off too much. And that's one of the things that, Jobe, you've been just a clanging gong that like we can't have people, we want to set people up for success and not for failure.
Yeah, what happens is people get excited. They hear this message and they're like, man, I am in. I got to do this. I'm ready. And it's kind of like the New Year's resolution emotional state. of
Uh-huh.
I'm super excited. I want to make these changes. Here we go. And so they go from 0 to 60, and I'm going to work out, I'm going to go for a run every day and go to the gym, and I'm going to cut out all these foods, and I'm only going to eat meat and broccoli, and I'm going to read my Bible for an hour every day, and I'm going to, and that's great. I love the excitement. But the hard part about 40-day fight, what makes it a fight, is the 40 days.
Mm-hmm.
And because you may be able to do that. This is the thing about New Year's resolutions. People are all in the gym during January. And then there's some day out there, I forget what day it is, but it's called Quitter's Day, National Quitter's Day, where the average person who makes a New Year's resolution just says, forget it, I'm done. And then they do it again the following year, but from February whatever to the end of the year, it's like I didn't stick to it. And we don't want that. So our goal is to, in those 40 days, do something small that's different than what you've been doing, because those small changes over time are going to have a huge impact. And what you want at the end of the 40 days is we don't want it to be so hard for those 40 days that after I'm done, I just go, I'm not doing that anymore. Thank God I'm done with that. Let's go back to what I was doing before. No, we want people to fine tune adjustments. So it might be 15 minutes a day of Bible reading. You can find 15 minutes. I mean, I'll tell you, every Sunday I get a report from my phone that says how much screen time I had. And it's shocking sometimes. Honestly, sometimes I look at it and go, there's no way I spent that much time looking at my phone,
Right.
But anyway, it's the point being, you can find the time, but it is going to take some effort and some intentional planning. And that's the hope of the 40-day fight, is that this gives you some tracks to run on to make these changes. And then you run on those tracks for 40 days. It's going to be days where it's easy to hit them all. It's going to be days where it's hard, but you run on those tracks for those 40 days. And then after you get done, you look around and go, why would I change any of this or much of this at all? This is working well. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling closer to the people closest to me, my important relationships. My body feels better. I'm sleeping better. All the things that I knew would happen are happening. So let's just kind of keep this rhythm going. Let's keep this cadence going. And rather than back on the seesaw of, well, now I'm completely off. Well, I guess we need to do another 40-day fight. I've been there. It can be hard, and life can throw you a lot of stuff, but the goal is just this perseverance and this idea that every day I'm going to forget what's behind me and I'm going to press on towards what's ahead. And I'm going to do the things today that the Lord has put in front of me to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm. Couple of questions. One is, we'd be remiss not to talk about why 40 days.
Yeah.
Why not a 25-day or a 50-day? Like, where'd the 40 days come from?
Well, I always laugh when I say this because I don't really know why, but why God chose 40 days. But if you look through Scripture, there's so many examples of him using either 40 days or 40 years. Now, we're not talking about a 40-year challenge, thank goodness. Although if you implement some of the stuff and you do it for 40 years, you're gonna reap the rewards of that. But
in a sense, it's a 4K week challenge. It's a lifetime challenge, right?
Yeah, right. But Noah's flood was 40 days. When Jesus was tempted out in the desert, the number of days was 40. There's several other examples, but I hadn't really seen much that was out there that was, a biblical kind of design to a challenge that said, do this for 40 days. Obviously, there's a lot of people that celebrate Lent, the Lent season, and that tends to be around 40 days before Easter. But that's why I believe that for some reason, it's a holy, time frame. And it's a time frame that God throughout Scripture used to make big changes and to do big things. And so he can do that through us as well if we let him. And even just logically, we know we do something like that consistently for 40 days, we have a good chance of having a good habit established. and some old habits hopefully shelved so that, we can continue to walk in that way once we're done with the 40 days.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening so well to the Lord on that. I mean, because 40 days there isn't a better number to have in front of fight. It's 40 days, as you said in the Bible. It's a number of testing and preparation and strengthening. If you look at all of that, the Lord tested even Jesus in the desert and prepared him for his earthly ministry. So in a sense, it's 40 days. It's not just a challenge. It's preparing us and teaching us and strengthening us to live out our life in this beautiful way that God has designed it. So I love that, Jobe. So good.
Yeah. I love it too. And even just tapping into that, you're going through the challenge and you're on day 15. It's still in the back of your mind 40 days. And so again, I just want everything that I'm doing, if I'm doing a 40-day fight, is tied to my relationship with Jesus and walking with him and trying to connect with him in a different way, in a new way that maybe I haven't done before.
Yeah. So this podcast, Delay the Decay, has a target audience. Here we are, episode 1. The heart of man plans its ways. The Lord directs his step. This is his podcast. But right now, the audience, my audience that I'm hoping for is 30-ish into their 60s. 30-ish into their 60s. Why not 20? Because 20, you still think you're invincible. I mean, you're working out because you're on a sports team or you're trying to get the girl or whatever it is. You don't even know the decay is a thing. But when you start hitting your 30s, it's like, oh yeah, wait, I've got a little bit of a belly and I'm lazy and I'm tired. You're 47. What would you say to the 30, let's call it 30 years old. Well, let's say 33 years old. That's how old Jesus was when he was crucified. Say to the 33-year-old version of you, after playing college football, what would you say to yourself in that early 30s stage, or to a 30-year-old listener right now?
Well, a lot of times at 30, you are still a little bit in that phase of thinking you're invincible and that the decisions don't matter. Mm-hmm. And I used to hate when older folks would say this phrase to me: just wait.
Just wait.
Just wait. Either they're complaining about their injuries or their sore back or they're this or they're that. And when you're young, you might hear older folks say that to you: just wait till you get older. But now that I'm 47, I understand why they were saying that. And if you take the time to try to understand it, the reason is and the advice that I would give is that all those little decisions matter. It may not feel like it in the moment, day to day when you're 30. But all those decisions to do and not do, the choices to say yes to and to say no to, they all add up cumulatively over time, and you don't feel it or it doesn't catch up with you until you are down the road. So I would say get some good habits now that you want to maintain through your 30s into your 40s and beyond. And just become a person that, the ideal is I get these things set and this just becomes integrated into my life, just like my morning coffee, and it's that much a part of my schedule that I don't have to think extra about it. But that's hard to do. There's tons of science and books out there on how do you create those kind of habits, but that's what I would encourage my 30-year-old self to do: is stay the course, get back in the gym, start taking care of yourself. In the last 15 years, I've lost both of my parents, and they were both from a generation where everybody smoked cigarettes, and they just picked it up when they were late teenagers, and neither of them put it down until the end. and they both died of one died of lung cancer, the other died of emphysema and COPD. And they both, who knows? You never know how long you have, but they both were otherwise fairly healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they both would still be here had they not, gotten caught up in that addiction. So, but when you're a teenager and you're smoking, in the 50s and 60s, it's the cool thing to do, and they don't know yet how bad it is.
That's right.
And
yeah.
And so, but those little decisions, and then obviously the addiction to it over all those years, just eventually tore down their lungs, and that makes me sad. So, and the same thing can be said of eating habits, of lack of exercise over time. Your body will decay, your metabolism will suffer, your cardiovascular health will suffer, and eventually you're going to go to the doctor and they're going to say, you need to be on drugs, you need to be on a blood pressure med, or you need to be on a cholesterol med, or this or that. And then once you get to a certain point, it's hard to go back. If you go over some of these edges, it's hard to go back. Some people get on a statin drug when they're in their 30s, and they never get off it the rest of their life.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I was a financial consultant for 20 years, I help people manage their money, plan for retirement, plan for upcoming expenses, college expenses, etc. And it was very hard to get people in their 20s and early 30s to start thinking that way, because they thought they always had time.
Yep.
And then when you hit your late 40s, early 50s, and you go, oh, wait, like I just lived paycheck to paycheck, and now I'm coming to a place in 15, 20 years where my income potential, my earning power is coming to an end, that I wish I would have started earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What Dr. Peter Attia, he compared that to eating healthy and exercising. The best way to build up your account, your health account, is over time is by starting early. Whether you think you need to do it or not, by establishing those habits early. But at the same time, if somebody came into me when I was a financial consultant and they were 55, and they said, I want to retire in 10 years, and I say, show me your bank account. They show it to me. There's nothing in there. I don't say, like, forget it, like you're too far gone. I say, start saving now. You're going to be better off at 65 financially by starting at 55 than never starting at all. And it's the same thing.
It is.
Whether you're 30 years old and you don't feel like you need to do this because you have time, heed Jobe's advice. If you're 55 years old, you haven't been to the gym, you're not walking, you're overweight, you're pre-diabetic, you haven't read a book, you haven't been to church, you haven't read your Bible, like, don't operate in shame. There's a new path. There's a new direction. And today's the day. Yeah. And if 40-day fight could be a help to you, come alongside you to help you establish new habits and practices so that you can truly enjoy life. Jesus said, I came to give life, not just eternal life one day in heaven, but to give life and life abundantly, or to the full today. And we don't find that life to the full by coasting, right, Jobe? It's by living intentionally.
Yeah. There's a verse that says, we're God's workmanship, or another translation says we're God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. And I think about that a lot, especially relating to what you just said. Our bodies are so incredible. They will respond to the inputs that we give, and our minds too. Romans 12, you talked about, says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so one of the categories in 40-day fight is mental. So we're talking about mental and physical, mind and strength, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. But they will respond. If you're 55 and you're completely off the wagon, haven't worked out in 20 years, if you start walking and be consistent with it, your body, your muscles, your heart, everything is going to respond to that and adjust it's like, hey, he's doing more stuff than he was before. We got to make some changes. And everything, your cells jump into action and respond and start to make changes in your body. So because this is the new way that you've decided to live. And along with that comes more energy, comes more vitality, better rest, all that stuff. And yes, there's always an adjustment period and a time where you might be sore. If you jump into the gym and you haven't been in a long time, you're going to be sore. But I've learned to look at that soreness and go, that's good. That means, I'm pushing my body, and the recovery off of that soreness means it's going to be easier for me the next time I go into the gym to do something similar. I'm going to get stronger. So I get excited about that part. The same is true with nutrition. You start making changes to your diet and what you put into your body through your mouth, your body responds to that. And it sometimes takes a while, but your body will respond to it. Your heart responds to it. The chemical makeup in your bloodstream will respond to it. It's just incredible. Our bodies are incredible. And we find that throughout Scripture. No one else was made in God's image except for us, and he called us his masterpiece.
Amen. Amen. Good word. We're his masterpiece. We're made to make an impact in his world, to build his kingdom. I'm gonna close on this question. I think we'll close on this question. Jobe, you're a dad, 4 busy boys. You're a husband of 25 years. You're a drone pilot. You coach track and football.
Yep.
You have created 40-Day Fight. You're a creator. You're a builder. You are busy. And the biggest excuse that I hear out there from people is that, like, I'm either too stressed out to get my life prioritized correctly, or I'm just too busy. Mm-hmm. And we want to recognize that people are busy. They're overly busy. But how do you, and I know you don't do this perfectly, none of us do, but how do you incorporate this into your busy life as a family man and as a businessman?
Wow, that's a question.
Yep.
And it is that's one of the reasons why the smaller decisions, the smaller goals, smaller choices are way more advised than trying to just do a complete overhaul and you go from sitting on the couch to training for a marathon. If you're doing that and you're into it, go for it. But I really think it's the small decisions. I've at times when I've been, and I'll tell you right now, Dan, right now I'm in exactly where you just talked, and I'm making excuses for myself, and I need to retool. I got to get back on, and I'm doing some things well, but there's definitely some things that are off right now. So it's never about perfection, but I feel a desire to move in a stronger direction towards where I want to go. But just a couple of examples. One is, when it comes to diet, a lot of times if you're traveling for work or your schedule is really packed, it's those habits of, where can I find a meal that is not going to derail me, is not going to be a bunch of fried fast food, and just putting some planning time into that. If I'm going on the road, here's my plan for what I'm going to eat when I get there. And again, just sticking to that. When I travel, that's a really hard thing for me to do. But there's almost always a Chipotle or a Qdoba or some place where you can just get some basic nutrients without all the extra stuff. The grocery store is another option.
Can you find it at Baskin-Robbins? I was looking for it there.
I don't think you can.
Okay, thank you for that.
Unfortunately, yeah. The other one is just, so there's been times where I commit to do a minimum of a 30-minute exercise movement of some kind. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I've been consistent with CrossFit. Sometimes I've been consistent getting to the gym. I've been on running kicks. I ran a trail half marathon at one point in my life. So I've done different things, but what I like to do is just establish a minimum that's acceptable. And a good one for me is 30 minutes. And let's say, so I'm thinking of one example. I was at work and I didn't have a lot of time, but I had a little break at work, and the law is, you're required to get a lunch break if you're an hourly employee. So it can be hard to break away from the computer, but I was like, okay, I'm going to set my watch and I'm going to walk just from the office. I'm going to start walking, and at 15 minutes, I'm going to turn around and walk back. And it was only 30 minutes. But it checked the box for me for that day that I did my movement. I got outside, which is healthy. I enjoyed it. Got the blood going, and that was good enough. It didn't have to be some big, massive CrossFit workout, but I did something, and I made the effort. And so that's my encouragement is to, make a list of simple things that you can do that you can integrate easily and start there. And if you get to where that becomes the normal pattern and you want to increase it, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. That's really helpful, Jobe. Yeah, and I might even just add to that is that that our priorities inform our decisions. Like if living inside these 5 life domains in a prioritized manner, if your why is strong enough, your decisions, you're going to find a way on the road to do that. And there's always give and take, right? There might be times where you're giving up an hour of sleep in order to be able to spend time with the Lord, or to go on a date with your wife, or whatever. And that's why I feel like the balanced life it's a hard one to grab a hold of. Like, what is balance? Balance for me might be different than balance for you, but we can all think through priorities. Think through priorities. So,
the other aspect, one more thing on that is if you don't have somebody in your life who really knows you, I would encourage you to pray about and ask God to lead someone like that into your life. But most of us do. Most of us have a friend who understands what our struggles are when we start talking about these areas and these issues. And so find somebody who will jump in with you. For me, I am a people pleaser by nature. And so I'm way more likely to do what I say I'm going to do if somebody else is doing it also, and they're depending on me to do my part, because I don't want to let them down. It sounds bad. Like, I'd rather not let them down than let myself down. I'd love to grow in that as I get older. But
that's not all bad.
When I've done things with, and we hate this word, but with accountability, some accountability built in. All it is, hey, we're in it together. Now I'm locking arms with a friend. We're going to do this 40-day fight together. And I know he's on day 13. I'm on day 13. Here we go. And then you've got somebody you can text and call. And that's going to, again, with what you said, the why over the top of it. Why do I want to do this? Hopefully we've touched on some good reasons why today. But underneath that is how am I actually going to be successful and execute this? One of the best ways is to do it in community, at least with one other person. Find a buddy, say, let's do this together, and let's encourage each other as we go through it.
Yeah. So good, Jobe. So what we didn't talk about is I love this concept so much, and it is such a natural outflow of Delay the Decay that Jobe allowed me to buy into it. So effective fall of 2024, I'm a partner with Jobe in this. I think it is a fantastic tool to help anybody who is willing to put in a little bit of effort to establish healthier rhythms, healthier practices, healthier habits, cut out practices and habits that are taking life away from you, and add ones in that will give you life. So I want to encourage you to sign up for the 40-day fight. It doesn't start on any particular date. You can start, for example, on July 1st or August 1st, and you will get your first devotion. It comes with every day of the 40 days. You get a devotion that Jobe wrote, and they are so good. And you get this welcome packet that will help you actually think through what the priorities are that that are needed in your life. So, and then one other thing, I want to encourage you to grab somebody. Take Jobe's advice. I concur with that. It is just going to be a not easier, but it's going to be a richer experience, and you're going to end up on the other end with more success if you do it with somebody else. So, so go to 40dayfight.org or com.
.com.
40dayfight.com.
Yep.
And it'll take you to the sign up, and you will not regret it. I've already done it twice this year. Twice this year. And it has enriched my soul. And I can say this for another podcast episode, but there are several habits, practices that I've incorporated into my life when I started it on January 13th that are still moving forward. And I just thank the Lord for that.
That's
so
great.
Jobe, thanks for being the first ever guest on Delay the Decay.
Absolutely, Dan. I'm excited for Delay the Decay, and glad
Thanks.
to have you be a part of 40 Day Fight. And
Thank you.
Just want to help people get success and grow, and just like you said, live out their lives to the full, the best of their ability. So I'm excited.
Good stuff. So remember, it's about direction, not perfection, but be resolute in the right direction. And then one day you'll be perfected, but direction, but not perfection. And so until next time, which will be next week, we will see you then. Jobe, thanks.
Thanks, Dan. Good to
Talk
see
soon.
you.
Good
All
to
right.
see you. Thanks for listening to Delay the Decay. If today's conversation resonated with you, follow, subscribe, and share it with someone else on the journey. Until next time, keep prioritizing what matters most. And remember, it's about direction, not perfection.